Hello there, I'm a random asshole on the internet, and this is Discussing U.S. History. Today we're going to be talking about George Washington's presidency and John Adams' presidency right after that. This is the fifth take after making a joke that I couldn't bear to have go live on the air. And so now, let's start with Congress. That stupid, lazy motherfucking Congress that actually wasn't lazy at the beginning, because they were just started, and they kind of wanted to get stuff done, seeing as we had a massive crippling debt and our government didn't really have any laws or didn't really do anything. That actually sounds kind of familiar, but they got to work, starting off with a Bill of Rights set up by this guy James Madison, and it passed pretty quickly, as in there's a bunch of amendments, but then two of them were thrown out, which was after Madison just wanted to straight up change the Constitution line by line, and everybody was like, fuck that, we're gonna make amendments instead. And so we got a Bill of Rights with free speech and speedy trials, trial by juries, all sorts of cool stuff. It was great. But then after that, we had to make a tax because we're still fucking broke. And so the first thing we did was alright, 5% custom tax, go. And so we did. And we also made I don't know. I could have sworn we did something with that. Not yet, but later we do make a Coast Guard so that, people would actually pay the tax. And then Washington, who has just been elected, goes off setting up his executive branch with people like, Henry Knox, Thomas Jefferson, Edmund Randolph, and Alexander Hamilton. And now every single Hamilton nerd is now going to bash me for the next about 5 minutes while I discuss his accomplishments without actually doing a good job of doing so. Ha! So the first thing he did, first day on the job, he gets a $50,000 loan from the Bank of New York so that the government isn't too broke to exist. Amazing! And this was actually the point where that Coast Guard was created so that they could enforce them import taxes. And next, he's like, alright everybody, we gotta make all of our debts into one debt so that we can all pay them off together and get good credit with everybody. And the states who don't have any debt are like, but I don't wanna. See, I don't like being broke. And so Hamilton's like, alright, Madison, Jefferson, who were big players, I'll let you move the capital to the south if you let this plan go through. And they're like, fuck yeah, boys. Get that capital down here. And so now we all assumed the state's debts into the federal debt. Well, boy. And parties have been created, not parties, which would have been, there were probably parties at that point, but political parties, which are even worse, with the Federalists on one side and the Anti-Federalists, who would become the Democratic Republicans, on the other side. Federalists want a strong federal government. Democratic Republicans and / Anti-Federalists do not, because they like the states' rights, and Federalists just want things to be done by the federal government. It's a huge split. It was so divisive. Two sides thought that the other side would be completely fucking stupid and that would destroy America, and I feel this is getting some deja vu. Two political parties deeply dividing the population over certain political issues. I could have sworn I'd seen this before, but that doesn't matter right now. So after he makes that debt bill, he goes on to do something even more heinous to I don't even know why I used that word, but an idea that was even stupider to the South and the Democratic Republicans, and he went let's make a national bank. And everybody else was like, but bankers are assholes, why the fuck would I do this? And he's like, so we can make more money? And they're like, so you can make more money. But it was a close call, and it just barely passed Congress, and Madison's like, Washington, you motherfucker, I swear if you pass this is gonna be the worst fucking idea. And Washington's like, but I'm a really big fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda. So he signed that shit, and after that everybody's like, oh, god damn it, why do we have a national bank? Hamilton's just like, oh yeah, can we also have a federal mint so we can make our own money and not have inflation? Everyone's like, yeah, whatever, just do it, man. That works, fine, whatever. And so we got all that. And so with all this stuff happening, you got Hamilton, the hipster, going like, we should have like a huge commercial nation with manufacturing and like urbanization, all sorts of cool shit. And Jefferson's like, no, we must be the small farmer community, the most democratic of all, blessed by God. And you know, you live in the present, you know how that works out. And so, moving on from those two fools fighting about country visions and whatnot, we move on to, you know, George Washington, who's just like, okay, now we gotta do some things. We gotta deal with this shit. And he's like, I gotta make sure the country can support us. So he just goes touring around the nation, you know, talking to people, going everywhere, and everybody gets to be like, oh my God, it's George Washington, holy shit. You know, that really raises the morale and builds, you know, some more support for this new nation and his administration and shit. And that's pretty cool. You know, that's pretty neat. Oh, but there's also still Indians everywhere in the West, and we kind of had to deal with them. And so Washington's just like, get soldiers, deal with it. The first guy, General Josiah Harmar, failed. And then he's like, alright, try again with more troops. And this guy named General St. Clair tried it. And then all of his troops, including the female camp followers, got hacked, butchered, and tomahawked. And so he's like, you're fired. Who am I going to get to do this? And eventually he found this guy named Mad Anthony Wayne. And he's like, you're going to take even more men, and you're going to fucking deal with this before we turn broke. And he's like, yes, sir! Charge! And so, at the Battle of Fallen Timbers, he beats up the Indians with heavy losses, but also leads to the Treaty of Greenville, which kicks the Indians out of the Ohio Valley lands and lets the Americans come in and take over, which is, you know, pretty lit. There was also this whiskey tax coming up from the fact that Hamilton's like, we need more money. And Jefferson's like, you need more money. And Hamilton's like, no, but we actually do need more money. And so they're like, and even James Madison supported this whiskey tax because it's like, it's a sin tax. Who the fuck would drink so much that a whiskey tax would affect them? Well, it turns out there's a bunch of Scots-Irish Presbyterian farmers that it's not a sin to drink a lot, and in fact, it's part of the culture. And so getting your whiskey tax when you're a small independent farmer, and the bigger farmers are getting taxed less, is very much something to rebel about. And so they tried to rebel with the Whiskey Rebellion, and Washington's like, not dealing with this shit. And he gets a whopping 12,000 troops together, gets up at the head of them, and goes like, alright, motherfuckers, get the fuck out. And so, like, the farmer's like, alright, I'm out. Alright, cool. And Hamilton, like, he wants blood from these guys. He wants them to be skewered, shot, or hanged on the first tree. When Washington's just like, you motherfuckers better shut the fuck up. And so they did. And, you know, after this amazing first term, Washington's like, alright, I just want to retire. Oh my God, I led a revolution. I led a country for 4 years. I'm done. I'm tired. Let me have a break. But then the French Revolution happened. And Washington's like, wait, no, I gotta set some precedents over here too. And so, at one point, and so obviously he got reelected unanimously because he's George Washington. Of course he was elected unanimously. Ugh. Hold up, give me a second. I lost track. Right, and so whenever news of war would come in, whenever news of war came in, everybody in America really likes the idea of fighting for freedom, seeing as that's what they just did, which is pretty cool. And But Washington's like, we're also still broke, and we still can barely do anything, and we're like 4 years old. We can't do this right now. And so, a new French ambassador called Edmond Charles Genet, or Citizen Genet, basically came over and was like, here, I'll be the new French ambassador real fast. And I'm also gonna recruit troops from your citizens and get ships and launch attacks and use your country as a base to launch attacks from. And Washington's like, get the fuck out right now. And then Genet looks back at France, and France is like, so you failed. We have a guillotine over here. It's very nice. We just sharpened it. And Genet's like, please just let me stay in New York. And so he did. Easy. Now then, Democratic Republican societies, however, popped up everywhere, and they're like, we want to support the French Revolution, freedom fighters, ah! And then the president's like, nah, please, no, don't do this. But, this, led to the creation of the Democratic Republican Party, basically. And so, with them declaring neutrality, they tried to trade with everybody, except they don't have a navy, and so the British kind of tried to stop their trade, and then John Jay tried to make a treaty, which failed, but then this other guy named Thomas Pinckney went to Spain to make a treaty, which was amazing, because it said to the British, oh shit, we want to be friendly with the United States, and so they actually followed Jay's treaty and got their British troops out of the United States, and we got trade through the Mississippi, which was fucking awesome. Cool. Alright. And now, after this, we got Washington coming. And now, after all of this, Washington went like, alright, I can finally fucking retire. And so he did. In 1796, we had a completely fucked up election. Oh, it's crazy. Newspapers were flaming presidential candidates left and right. You didn't have people campaigning, but like it was crazy, You had entire groups of people fighting with each other. They're about political issues, just like absolutely going at it. It was insane. Like, it really reminds me of some kind of, current time period where we're all just deeply divided over political issues or something. But again, it's really escaping my memory right now. So let's move on to John Adams' presidency, as he was elected after some drama. Trying to look at this, because Washington's like, alright, can you just like elect somebody that isn't gonna side with foreign influence? And Jefferson was very pro fight with the French, and Adams was Washington's vice president. So they're like, okay, we'll just go with the vice president, And a 71 to 68 vote. It was very close, very close. And so Adams is like, alright, let's actually get a navy so we can deal with these people trying to kill off our ships, and so they did. And then he tried to make peace with the French in this XYZ affair with 3 idiots called X, Y, and Z, telling the Americans he sent, hey, we will make peace with you if you pay us a bribe of $250,000, and you give us a loan of 10 to 12 million, and you will fucking apologize for such a belligerent tone. And then, what is it? Pinckney. Which Pinckney? I can't see it. A Pinckney. It could be Thomas, could be a different one. Went like, no, motherfucker, not a sixpence. And you know which part of that quote isn't actually a quote, but yeah. And so Adams' popularity soared, and people in the U.S. went like, okay, now let's go kill the French, because they kind of just tried to fucking mess with us. You don't fucking mess with the United States of America. And so now we became part of a quasi-war, because we were kind of in war with them, but also kind of not. Like, we weren't overtly at war with them, we just really fucking hated the French, man, and like, they were pissing us off, we were pissing them off. No, it sucked. And this hysteria also led to the Alien and Sedition Acts, with it taking a longer time for aliens to become citizens, and for criticism against the government to be banned? Question mark? Free speech? What? So, there were these Kentucky and Virginia resolutions saying, no, we're not going to follow that. We, kind of enjoy free speech, you dumbass. And Adams eventually went like, alright, we just gotta try to sue for peace with France, because we're still, like, a tiny country, and we're broke, and, like, I don't want to deal with this. And, like, many of his Federalist friends went like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? And Hamilton went and was like, what the fuck are you doing? And Adams is like, I'm securing peace for us. I'm securing peace for us. God damn it. And so, he eventually was able to negotiate with the Directory and then Napoleon Bonaparte and end the Quasi-War and finally protect British shipping. And he even disbanded part of the army because they didn't need it at that point anymore. And so eventually he would die, but he considered peace with France this crowning achievement, with his gravestone reading, "Here lies John Adams, who took upon himself the responsibility for peace with France in the year 1800. Damn. And finally, we're going to talk about the election of 1800. And so, at this point, the two parties were actually parties, and they were organized as fuck, dude. And even though the Constitution itself doesn't call for nomination of candidates, what actually happened now is that they made caucuses. Oh man, remember that shit? They started making caucuses to select people to become their candidate for president of the party. Woo! And so the Federalists went like, here, let's support Adams, or we can support this other Charles Pinckney. And Adams like, Hamilton, what are you doing to me, bro? What the fuck? And so, and there was also this thing where there was 1,000 slave strong uprising, and, what is it? And, like, people were getting a little bit scared in the South. Like, oh my lord, we're gonna lose all of our slaves. How could this happen to us? You gotta reassure us, man, or we won't vote for you. And Adams is like, I hate slavery. And Pinckney's like, I'm the largest slaveholder in South Carolina. Jefferson and Burr owned slaves. And Jefferson's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Ha ha ha. And then the slaves that were arrested were like, this is pretty fucking hypocritical. Owning slaves in a fucking freedom country, my ass. And also there is the fact that Jefferson was a deist and not really a Christian, which made some people go like, I don't know about this guy. Don't know. But, and also people openly campaigned for the first time in the second or third election ever, basically. So, third or fourth? It's one of those two. You can do the math. And eventually, the Democratic Republicans, being so well organized, got people, all of them electors, to vote for Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson, and Aaron Burr, who were their candidates. But here's the problem. The system was set up so that the people with the most electoral votes would become the president, and the one with the second most would become the vice president. But they fucked it up. So the electors gave both Aaron Burr and Jefferson 73 votes each. Now the House of Representatives gotta decide who wins. And so, eventually, our good old friend Alexander Hamilton went like, guys, can't fucking trust Aaron Burr. I don't like Jefferson, but Burr is even worse. And so eventually, Thomas Jefferson was elected. And that is the end of what we're going to talk about today, because I'm fucking tired. That is the end of the chapter. I will see you next time. Don't forget to study. Don't forget to have a good time. And yeah, peace out.